You're listening to My Favorite Show, where Dr. Richard Call and Greg Riccardi discuss the matters that matter most. Join the conversation by calling 800-962-1160. And now, Dr. Call and Greg Riccardi of My Favorite Show.
Thank you and welcome to another edition of My Favorite Show. I'm your host, Greg Riccardi, sitting here with Dr. Richard Call. And tonight we are going to deliver a very special edition of My Favorite Show. You ready for this, Doc?
I am.
Yes, we're going to be spanning the globe, covering today's hottest topics.
Topics tapas.
Topic tapas. We're calling it Topic Tapas.
Topic or the topics tapas?
Topics tapas. And for all those...
We're discussing many topics, right?
That's right. And for all those of you out there who might not have been to a tapas restaurant, it's, where you get, instead of, one big, chunk of a meal, you get many little plates of little different things, right?
Yeah, it's a Spanish delicacy, and they bring out one plate after the next, but you're not quite sure what exactly is on that plate. It's like a scene from that series, what do you call it, Fear Factor?
Yeah.
They give them something to eat, and you're like, what is this, squid, snail, slug?
Exactly. So,
but it tastes good.
It does taste good. So we also have a special guest who's going to be on later in the show, is a personal trainer named George Garcia, who I must say, he's pretty jacked up, this guy. He looks like...
Arnie.
He does. So... we want to let you know we have a website associated with My Favorite Show. It's called MyFavoriteShow.com.
How original.
Figure that one out. And we are videotaping this broadcast, as we do with every broadcast. We encourage you to go to the website, sign up for our email newsletter templates that we send out that remind you of the show coming up. And you can also get on our text list by texting MFS for My Favorite Show to the short code 313131. So just like you would text a friend, instead of putting the person's name in there, you put 313131 and you type in MFS and just send that. And you can also text in your questions as well to that short code as well. So, and of course, this is a very... very
informal and cozy.
Yeah, and that's not where I was going. But I was going to say this is a very inclusive show here. We want everyone, whoever is out there that has a burning question for Dr. Call here or myself, to call 800-962-1160. Call in with your questions, and we'll get them answered.
Right, and as always, there's no excuse.
No excuse. You just got the prescription from the doctor. Okay, so now we're starting off with topic tapas. Where should we begin? Do you want to steer me, or do you want me to just start rifling?
Throw the tapas at me, just whatever you got.
All right, ready? Here we go. I wish we had a drum roll. Okay. Okay, let's say let's start off with the big one here. Cruz announcing he's running.
Well, it was inevitable. I mean, everyone knew that he was going to be throwing his hat into the ring, and we're into March, so it's about the right time. It's going to be interesting to see who throws their hat in next. I don't quite have an opinion about Mr. Cruz.
Really?
He's. I'm not quite clear where he stands on certain issues. I mean, you just mentioned. Actually, I just heard before that he wants to abolish the graded taxation system and have a flat tax.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to get rid of Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one other thing I forget that he was he is supposedly standing for, and I think it relates to immigration, which I find quite odd, because I think if you go back further enough in his family, there were a few illegals that came across the border.
Doc, gay marriage.
Oh, gay marriage. Oh. That's the one. That's gay marriage. Yes. I've never really understood the whole gay marriage conflict. I mean, most straight people want to get divorced and they don't want to be married, and yet the gay community actually want marriage. So I suppose it must be the tax and the financial benefits that come from that, right?
Well, I think love is love, and if you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, you should get the same. Yeah, you should get the same benefits as people who might not be
married,
gay, like you. You know what I mean?
Happy, you mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So anyway, I think he's an interesting character.
Next
Cruz.
topic, guys.
That was our producer, Dave Stanford.
All right, next happers.
Who's changing the topic on us. All right, next topic here. Actually, this is a surprising one. We didn't talk about this one before the show. Brian Williams. What should he do?
About what?
Like what should his move be? He's suspended from NBC.
Well, he should do nothing for the time being. That's my opinion.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. He's just lay low. Keep a low profile. I mean, at some point he's going to have to come out and do the mea culpa, and he's going to have to answer people's questions as to why.
Right.
He reported in the way that he did, and everyone kind of knows it. I mean, this is the problem I have with a lot of Western day media, is that there is an over-reporting. There's a distortion, too much of what goes on. So stories will get embellished with details that aren't quite true or a little bit off the truth. And I just think that with Williams, he did it just once too often, and he got caught. And so you can be assured that today there are journalists out there that are still doing the same thing. So my message to the world is be very careful what you read about in papers and on the internet.
Well, it wasn't as much the distortion of what was going on as much. Well, it was that, but it was more for his benefit, as if he was the man type of thing.
Well, it was dishonest reporting. He was telling stories that were not a factual representation of what was going on to make himself look like he was action man. And there's many of those reporters, and they do it because they think it's theatre.
Others do it, you think?
Yeah, I am, of course. I'm not going to name any, but they are.
All right.
And it's a pity, because if you look at the reporters from the Second World War, those guys were really genuine. I mean, they were there with the troops, and they just reported the facts, and they had a very objective way of communicating. But there's become such a media frenzy, and they're all looking for ratings, and they're all looking for money. So, they're just coming up with these crazier and crazier stories.
Well, I would really wonder what the news would sound like if it was purely just factual and there were no editorializing at all.
It would sound like the BBC did in the 1930s. This is the BBC we're reporting from, and it would like that. It's just a simple recitation of fact.
Right, and let the viewer or the listener make their own decisions.
All a news reporter is required to do is report the news.
Right.
That's it.
Very good. Next topic: football and helmets.
When you say football, now you're talking about the American or the stuff we play.
Oh, that's right. You guys play that other football.
It's called soccer.
Soccer. No, I'm talking about football.
Are you talking about the stuff where all the boys get dressed up?
Yes.
In their big helmets and their pads and go out to the field.
Guys.
We're on the next topic, Dave. Okay, so.
And AAA's here.
AAA's here. Okay, AAA's here to start my car. That's great. Okay, so no, I'm talking about the helmets and the concussions.
Yeah.
I
played rugby for many years in England, and one of the rules in rugby was that there was no tackling above the neck. Everything was below the neck, so there was a minimum of cervical injuries. But in American football, they actually use the head and the neck as the battering ram. So it's hardly surprising that you see all these horrific cervical injuries in these young men. So, the question, I suppose people ask is it worth it? Should they change the way this game is played? And I think they should change it to an American form of rugby. They should get rid of the helmets, get rid of the pads, and call it something, rugby 2.
Yeah, I played rugby in college, and I dislocated my shoulder.
Me too.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had yeah.
So, I mean, pads, no pads, you're probably still going to get hurt.
Yeah, but you're not going to sustain the life-changing injuries of a cervical fracture as you see in American football.
Right. Now, with all of your experience as a spine surgeon, were you involved in many sports injuries?
I saw the majority of the patients actually that came into the interventional pain clinic I was running were people who had been involved in car accidents and who had sustained injuries to their spinal columns.
Right, a lot of people want to talk about the Middle East.
Middle East. Okay, we're switching up to the Middle East.
We're heading east.
Go ahead, your take on the Middle East.
Yeah, well, listen, that's, I lived in the Middle East as a kid, actually, for a number of years in South Yemen, so I have first-hand experience of dealing with that part of the world. It's a complicated situation. I mean, I suppose, referring to what's been in the press lately about the relationship between Netanyahu and Obama, and, the discord between those two, and the fact that Netanyahu's just been elected as the Prime Minister. So, I think President Obama needs to, make friends with Mr. Netanyahu, and I don't think there's going to be a greater chance for peace in the Middle East if there's discord between America and Israel.
Now, as far as like the, what's the bigger plan for Obama? Do you think make friends with him and
Guys, we got 100 phone lines and they're all lit up.
All the phone lines lit up.
We got 2 minutes and we got to go to break.
Got to go to break. Okay, so do we have any callers that?
Well, they want you to just keep talking to the break.
Gotcha.
They don't want you. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Next topic. We'll Red Bulls, soccer. Your soccer.
Yeah. English soccer, football.
English soccer, football.
Yeah, football. Well, they're trying. The Red Bulls is one of the American soccer games, and there's been this attempt over the last 10 years to bring soccer, English football, to America. They even brought David Beckham over to play in LA. But I don't think it's ever going to get to the level of basketball or baseball. Not in our lifetime anyway.
Right.
And the amount of money that's going into it doesn't compare. And the most important thing is the world's top talent gets paid the most when they play in the English Premier League or the Italian Serie A or the German Bundesliga. So, these guys, unless you can match that kind of money, they're not going to come to the States.
Do players, in the UK, and do they make as much money typically as sports figures here?
The guys in the Premier League?
Yeah.
Some of them do, yeah. Yeah.
So, as far as the bigger picture on that one, the soccer is like all over Europe. Is there any other major sport than
in
that?
England? In the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cricket. I mean, soccer and cricket, but soccer's it's the biggest sport played globally.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's the music.
Here's the music.
Time to take a break, boys.
Time to take a break. Here we are, My Favorite Show. Greg Riccardi and Dr. Richard Call taking your questions right after this.
You're listening to My Favorite Show. Join the conversation by calling 800-962-1160. Stay tuned for more of Dr. Call and Greg Riccardi. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, this is Paul Rotella, president of the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, of which I'm proud to say this station is a member. The NJBA, along with all of our other member broadcasters, are dedicated to equal employment opportunities in broadcasting. We want everyone who is qualified to know about and apply for all of the job openings our member stations have available. If you belong to or know of any community group that helps people find jobs, we want to know about them so that when a job opening comes up at this station, we can notify them so they can notify all of their members who'd like to know about and apply for jobs in radio and television. And let us know of any other New Jersey station your organization would like to be notified about when they have a job opening as well. Please tell these organizations to contact me, Paul Rotella, in care of this station, or visit our website, njba.com, to check out the Job Opportunity Employment Listing Service. This job listing service is a free equal employment opportunities outreach program brought to you by the New Jersey Broadcasters Association and this great New Jersey radio station.
All right, we're back with My Favorite Show. I'm your host, Greg Riccardi, here with Dr. Richard Call. A very special edition of My Favorite Show. It's called Topic Tapas, where we're dishing out just, little topics of the day that, we're having the doctor pontificate on, right?
Guys, Robert Durst.
Robert Durst, did he do it?
Did he do it? Well, he admitted he did it in the bathroom when the microphones were still on.
Right.
What I can't work out with Mr. Durst is why he even thought about doing this video. It was clear to me from the get-go. Did you see this thing? It was called Jinx, that these two directors were out to set him up. I mean, the guy, I think he's in his late 60s. He's, partly senile. He walks around. He talks to himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really out there. I think it was really unfair. It was almost like they were bullying him. So they had him, in these situations and then interviewed him.
Right.
And, the interview was relatively unremarkable. It was a little bit, he came out with some kind of cryptic answers every now and then. And then at the end of the interview, he says, he's getting up and, because he's old, he's got a weak bladder, he has to go to the bathroom. So he walks off to the loo, going, I have to go to the bathroom. So he forgets that the mic is still on.
Right.
So he goes into the bathroom and he admits to himself, I did it. And, resulted in the arrest.
Wait a second. So you think that they set that up somehow?
I don't.
Or
no.
Put him in a position where that was likely to happen? Or
this is what I think happened. They should, as seasoned documentary makers, have said to him, let me take the mic off of you before you leave the table. They didn't, right? Maybe hoping that, he would go off to the bathroom and self-incriminate. That's
Really?
a possibility. Yeah, of course.
he could have said a lot of crazy things in the bathroom.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, it was a chance. They were just hoping that he'd go off and would basically confirm everything that they had been asking him. So to answer your question, do I think he did it? Committed the murder?
Yeah.
I do, because he himself said it.
Guys, next topic, Ebola.
Ebola.
Well,
And our guest is here. Just to let you know.
Okay. So, that's a topic that I know a bit about because I'm a doctor, and the Ebola virus is still fortunately contained in parts of Western Africa, but the numbers of deaths have been kept under wraps by the United Nations. There are more deaths than they're letting the public onto. Yeah, it's a really pretty horrific way to die.
Yeah, isn't it like 5 days you're gone?
Well,
or something like that?
Even quicker. It causes an internal hemorrhaging. It causes an internal bleeding of various systems. And
wow.
What I'm surprised about actually, and quite impressed, is that it hasn't really penetrated other areas of the world. I think the security checks have been quite good at the European and the American borders. So, I hope that they find some kind of a cure to it soon. I mean, the sad thing actually, Greg, with a lot of these outbreaks in Africa is that the resources, the money, and the know-how do exist. And, I hate to say this, but there are other agendas at play when these plagues come into existence. There's things going on.
Really?
Yeah, man. There's things going on that relate to, the commercial interests of various industries.
So who would want Ebola to be out there?
Well, the companies that are selling all the
drugs.
Yeah, the medications, the medical goods, the medical devices, there's money being made.
Right.
A lot of people calling in about Passover and Easter holiday coming up.
Passover and Easter holiday. Well, listen, folks, we want to remind you to call in. The number is 800-962-1160. They're screaming at me behind the glass to tell the telephone number.
Well, yeah, it is coming up. It's actually it is. It's kind of a lot quicker than I thought, and I really think Jesus Christ was an incredible man. I mean, that book. Think about this. Here's a guy, right? He walks around the desert for 32 years or thereabouts in the same robe, one white robe and a stick, right? A simple guy.
It's impressive,
right? Lives on bread and fish. Has 12 guys hanging out with him.
Sounds like some people I know.
And changes the world with a book.
With a book.
And then after doing all of that good work, right?
That's why you write all these books. You want to go, down in Jesus' history.
That's right. So after writing all these wonderful books.
Guys, we need to switch back to sports now. Mets, Yankees. Who's going to have a better record this year?
Mets, Yankees. I don't talk sports.
Mets, well, I don't know about Yankees, so my son is a big Yankees fan. I mean, I would have to say the Yankees. And even without, what do they call him, A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, even without him, I think they're going to have a better season than the Mets.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I actually only went to see 2 baseball games in my life, one to the Yankees and once for the Mets, and the Mets were terrible. And, the Yankees, I kind of got bored with the game.
Yeah, it's difficult to watch.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Entertainment, Bruce Willis turning 60.
Whoa, Bruce Willis turning 60.
Yeah, he looks good.
I just saw, I saw him on the...
But you know the key? You know the key for men as they get older? Shave your head.
Right.
That is the key. I'm telling you, if you have a nicely shaped cranium, right, nicely proportioned, shave your head. It takes years off you.
Well, we are definitely going to, have a lot of years taken off of us because for those of you watching this show, not a lot of hairstyling going on between Dr. Call and myself. So what else do we have? What else do we have? I like the Jesus
We have a
topic.
guest here.
Oh.
He doesn't have much time. He's got to get going.
Uh-oh. We have a guest, Doc.
Oh, we do. We forgot about
bring him in?
Senor,
Wanna
Senor
take a
Garcia.
break? We can bring him in.
Yeah.
Just bring him in now?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Let me switch chairs here.
Folks, you're actually witnessing live a reorganization of a radio station right now to bring in a guest ad hoc. We've got George Garcia in the house.
How's it going?
Looking pretty good, George. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Awesome. You gotta
put this
come
on?
up to the mic there, good guy.
Oh, okay.
All right. So how's it going? So what's the biggest topics in health these days going on? Health, fitness,
The biggest topics?
Yeah, well, how about this? You're out with your friends, you're having a beer or two or whatever, and they're ordering food,
Yeah.
right? Are you the guy that's like, well, you shouldn't eat that because
No.
Greg. George is one of Manhattan's hottest personal fitness trainers. So, as opposed to the proletariat having to go to the gym and run on machines and bikes, you get a one-on-one with Senor Garcia, where he will assess and analyze every detail of your physiology, your anatomy, come up with a very specific plan.
Right.
When he goes out to dinner and people ask him questions about food and the rest of it, he doesn't engage in that type of conversation.
I figured I could ask him and he could answer the question.
Well, it's not that I don't engage. If someone asks, then... Oh, okay.
There you go.
If someone asks, then I'll give them my opinion.
Okay, good, awesome. So why don't we do that? Where are you located? Who is your typical type of client? Let's get that right out there.
Well, I'm all over the city. I'm mostly on the Upper West Side. I have a few clients down in the Village and some on the Upper East Side. So I just bounce around. I book studios. I train my clients there, or I'll train them in their apartments.
So do you work out of a gym or no? I mean, you're typically on site, right?
I'm typically on site, or I'll book studio space. There's a lot of personal training studios all over the city. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, and you can book them at different places.
Typically, my clients live pretty close to each other, like on the Upper West Side. So I have a place like in the 70s. I have a place in the 80s.
Right.
And I'll try to set up my schedule so I train people back to back.
So you get clients and you bring them into whichever gym space you're training in.
Right.
And for an hour, I'm being instructed to move closer. Move over. Okay. That way, we're going to get cozy here.
Are we getting closer, or am I moving over?
You move on. You were saying, Doc.
Yeah, I was saying so for approximately an hour, you'll take them through a routine of jumping and kind of cross training, right? It's like a cross.
It depends. I have clients in their 80s. I have clients in their 30s and 40s. Like there are definitely people that are younger that I do more plyometric training. I do kettlebells. I'll do boxing, kickboxing, and then I'll have some older people that I'll just do more functional stuff with bands and some cardio, some low intensity cardio.
Now, George, I know I've known George actually for a number of years because I spent a few hours training with him as I was trying to get into shape for my next film. And
can't wait to see the last one.
Why are you laughing?
Because I haven't seen the last film yet.
Well, it was one of those underground films, right? Real quiet, no one ever sees it. One of those bête noirs. So anyway, I trained with him, and I got the experience of the one-on-one. And I got to tell you, man, it's really, you stick with that, and you see the difference in a short space of time. When I first went to see George, I was not in great shape, and by the end of 6 months, things had, turned around. So it's.
Nice.
Yeah, he almost passed out the first time I trained.
Really?
I did.
I had to slow him down. I had to put him on the elliptical. I had to stretch him out and then kind of.
That happens.
But this is the question actually that I wanted to ask George about this. The issue of nurture versus nature. You see, everyone has a different genetic makeup.
Sure.
Right? And some people are more likely to be able to develop muscle and lose fat than others, right?
Well, everyone can develop muscle. I mean, you might not develop as much muscle as someone with better genetics. You might not be as lean as someone with better genetics that's predisposed to that. But you can always make improvements.
Right.
And there's always little things you can improve on your diet. You can improve on your consistency. If you're trying to get bigger, you can increase the weight, decrease the number of sets, eat more. I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to do. But you can definitely make strides towards your goal.
Towards your goal, yeah. And the other thing, actually, that I did really want to ask you, my mind kind of jumped onto that, was before you came in, we were talking about American football. And I know that you played American football for a number of years.
I did not. I'm a big Green Bay Packers fan.
Oh, okay.
But I'd never played.
Doc, we have 100 phone lines. They're all lit up. We have Patrice, who's dying to talk.
Patrice.
About the personal training. And
all right.
If you wouldn't mind, because she's been on hold for 20 minutes already.
Okay.
Patrice has been on hold. Patrice, are you there?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, hi, I have a question regarding training.
Okay.
Dying to talk. Patrice.
Are you ready for the question?
Sure.
Please lower your radio in the background.
Lower? Is that okay?
Yeah, just turn it off. There you go.
Turn it off.
Yep.
Hello?
Yep. Your question?
Oh, my question is, I have teenagers who are, they're 14 going on 15, and they're involved in sports and athletics and lacrosse, football, and what do you recommend for them in terms of weight training? Because I know that they shouldn't be lifting heavy weights. Like, what kind of a regimen can they follow? Because they can't join a gym yet.
Right.
And they also can't train in their gyms in the high schools without supervision and whatnot. So what do you recommend for them to do so that they can be doing some strength training and conditioning to be in the best condition for their sports?
So answer this as well. How young can you start training?
I mean, I started weight training when I was 14.
Okay.
They advise not to. They say that your growth plates can, overlap and you don't grow to your full potential.
Right.
I'm 5'9". They told me I should have been 6 feet tall, but nobody in my family is 6 feet tall. So I'm going to say I'm the height I'm supposed to be.
Guys,
Gotcha.
we need to go to a break real quick. We're going to keep Patrice on.
All right, we're going to keep Patrice on the line. We're going to go to break in a few minutes. And you're listening to My Favorite Show. Call in with your questions, 800-962-1160. I'm Greg Riccardi here with Dr. Richard Call. My Favorite Show will be back in a minute.
You're listening to My Favorite Show. Join the conversation by calling 800-962-1160. Stay tuned for more of Dr. Call and Greg Riccardi. We'll be right back after these messages.
Tornadoes, floods, blizzards, wildfires. Natural disasters seem to make the news every day, and so do the people who protect our communities when disaster strikes. These are the men and women of the National Guard. The proud citizen soldiers of the National Guard are prepared to respond to any situation at a moment's notice. They are expertly trained and equipped to handle the worst nature can dish out, from rescue missions to providing medical care, food, water, and shelter, to restoring hope. The Guard does it all. Maybe you hear the call to serve your community. If so, visit 1-800-GO-GUARD.com. Learn about the many benefits, like programs that can help you pay for college and opportunities to learn career skills. You might even be eligible to receive a bonus. It's time to set yourself apart. Stand out, make a difference. Become a citizen soldier in the National Guard. Visit 1-800-GO-GUARD.com or call 1-800-GO-GUARD now for your community, your country, your future.
All right, we're back. I'm Greg Riccardi here with My Favorite Show. With me is my co-host, Dr. Richard Call. We have a website associated with our show. It's MyFavoriteShow.com. Be sure to go there, sign up for email alerts and text alerts. Also, we want you to call in with your questions, 800-962-1160. We have a very special guest here in the studio, George Garcia, fitness trainer extraordinaire.
Fitness guru,
personal trainer. Yeah. And before the break, we had a call from Patrice asking, looking for some advice on her kids in training. Right. They're young, they're getting older, and active in sports.
Right. A great way to start off, if they're not going to start lifting heavy weights, is just basic conditioning. Pull-ups, push-ups, burpees, squat thrusts, climbers, some agility drills, some lateral movement would be a great way to start.
Okay, and how often? Like
if you're doing that type of, if you're in season, they probably shouldn't, because you're getting all the training from the coaches and their practices and all that. But in the off season, they can definitely work on agility and they can work on muscle endurance.
Gotcha. What is the Are there any trends happening in terms of overall?
I mean, I guess CrossFit is really big.
Mm-hmm.
It's
What is
basically Olympic lifts for time. So, it's basically like Olympic lifts and big movements for time, and they have like the CrossFit Games, and it's great. I mean, I couldn't see myself doing that type of workout every single day, but if you vary your training and you do it maybe like once a week or twice a week and space it out, and are conscious of your form, because I don't do it, but I've known people that have done it, and some people love it and some people get injured. So you just have to be know what you're doing and be aware of your form and take your time. Even if everyone else is going like full out intensity, it's better to just
go at your pace.
Yeah, go at your pace.
Yeah,
Guys,
definitely.
ton of emails coming in. People want to know if you have any suggestions on dieting.
Well, what's worked for me, I try to eat for myself. I try to eat a great variety of vegetables, lean proteins. I try to minimize the starches. I do eat starches and carbs when I'm dieting down, and I tell people that they should have their starches, maybe have them earlier in the day, and then taper them off and eat more protein and vegetables as it gets later in the day. Smaller meals every few hours works well.
But I have a comment about diet and about what goes on in America with food. You see, your advice is correct,
right?
But the thing is a lot of the food that's produced in America has a very high percentage of additives and chemicals in it. Right?
Sure. So you try to eat natural food, fruits, vegetables.
Right. So Jack LaLanne, one of his famous statements was, "I never eat anything that hasn't been made by God."
Right. Yeah, I've heard that.
So the advice to people is basically, eat, everything has to be natural. But the problem is that even like vegetables and fruits, they're sprayed.
Right? Pesticides and all.
And then you have these genetically modified, foods which themselves are not. I don't know. Move to Italy. Everyone's slim in Italy.
Yeah,
they smoke a lot of cigarettes.
Sorry,
and drink
George,
wine.
our computer's down, but our latest text. People want to know how they can get in touch with you and possibly train with you and be part of what you got going on.
Sure. The best way to get in touch with me is email me. My email is Garcia, Garcia, fit@gmail.com.
Could you repeat that, George?
Excuse me. Garcia Fit, Garcia, fit@gmail.com.
Very good. Thanks, George. And now, are you do you have do personal trainers have how do you pick one? Do they have a style or a slant? Sure. And when you go and you work out with one at a gym and you kind of a test type of thing.
Right.
How do you say, you know what, I didn't like that guy or girl, or how do
as the trainer or as the individual buying training?
Meaning as the you have to, I guess, like your clients. I mean, I would imagine, but
right.
In terms of how do you pick one? How do you pick a trainer?
I think the best way to pick someone is obviously try to find someone that
has trained with someone, right?
That has trained with someone, but that's a big way of me getting clients. Is a lot of times I just get them through referrals.
Right.
But if you're just going in out of the blue, I would maybe go to the gym, for a week or two, do some cardio, build up your endurance, and just watch all the trainers on the floor. See who's on paying attention to their clients and focused.
Right.
See who's got a workout that's.
See who's on their BlackBerry.
See who's on their BlackBerry.
Yeah,
see
exactly.
who's really paying attention to their clients and who's aware of kind of their form. If you're seeing somebody doing a squat and their form is bad and the trainer's not paying attention.
Right.
I mean, not that it's common, but it's the little things. I would scope them out and then pick the one you want.
Go with feel.
George, Mary from Edgewater wants to know, what do you recommend as far as how many days should they work out per week?
Anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week. Once you're more advanced, I would say you can do 6 days, but you always want to at least take a day off.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming on the show. And again, folks, if you'd like to reach out to George Garcia here, he's at garciafit@gmail.com. And we appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for
having
me.
Cool.
Thanks, George.
Back to the green room.
Got a grip.
Davey Dave is out there. He's running the show today. I mean, he's usually behind the scenes, and now he's just in the house, as they say.
Our next question
is
from James from Piscataway, I guess.
Okay.
Wants to know what Dr. Call thinks about the Izod Center closing up here in New Jersey.
Izod Center closing up here in New Jersey.
So I assume the Izod Center is closing.
I guess so.
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I think it's in keeping with what's happened to the economic change of circumstances of the state of New Jersey. And a lot of the money that was keeping that place open was coming from state coffers. And, the state's financial health at the moment is atrocious. So, things like the Izod Center are going to feel the brunt of that, even though it was a significant source of income generation and job generation for the state. So it's a pity. I think it's sad that it's closing, and hopefully, when the finances of this state get themselves reorganized, they'll be able to reopen it.
Okay, excellent. We have an
sorry with the communication, but this one's for you, Greg.
Yes.
Frank from Valley Cottage would like to know, he's with his son in the car right now, and he'd like to know how one would get started in the radio business.
The radio business?
Yes.
Well, they can just go to MyFavoriteShow.com, sign up there. We are taking interns. And if you're interested in getting involved in the show, if you're interested in getting involved with radio in general, or all kinds of production, just reach out there, get on the list, and how would you start? You're a big radio guy now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I say this to anybody. Whatever you want to do in life, find the place that does it, give them a call, send them an email, and go in and say, I'm a 14-year-old kid and I'd like to get into radio, TV, or whatever, and knock on the door and see if it opens.
Okay, we've got a caller in.
Guys, we got Dan from Paramus. He's on the line.
Dan from Paramus, dying to talk to us. Dan, go for it.
Does anybody really care about soccer?
Oh, boy.
Oh,
that's a low blow to the Brit.
I'd say about 80% of the world's population.
80% of the world, Dan. There's your answer.
I don't know. It's like, it's not really that exciting.
Well, with all due respect, I would tend to agree with you to an extent, because I actually played rugby, principally in the UK. Soccer is exciting.
Rugby's a lot more exciting than soccer. Why don't they bring rugby over here?
Oh, well, they have done. They've got some rugby leagues dotted around the country. I think it should become more of a national sport. I mean, when you watch the international rugby tournaments and you watch the All Blacks or the New Zealanders and the South Africans, and you watch those games, I mean, the speed and the excitement of those games, I think, is much more entertaining than watching 11 men, really skinny men, running around with really good hairdos, kicking the ball up and down the field.
What's your sport, Dan?
I like listening to the radio, and that's my sport.
There you go. That's high impact, huh? Awesome. Well, thanks for the call.
Thanks for the call, Dan.
Dave's back in the
email from Harris.
Right.
In Mahwah, New Jersey.
Harris in Mahwah, New Jersey.
And he'd like to know your picks for the 2015 men's NCAA tournament. Your picks.
Wow.
That's call me Greg.
Wow. Can we what's the word? Take a pass?
Oh, you're the American. I mean, that's your zone, the basketball. I can honestly say I never followed basketball.
Well, my sons play basketball, and it's growing on me. It's growing on me, definitely. I'm watching more on TV and stuff,
right.
But as far as the picks, we'll have to give you some other kinds of picks. I'm not saying. So, we were reading an article the other day, you and I, about. We'll go back to Topic Tapas for a second.
Yeah.
About doctors.
Is it topic or topics?
I'm sorry, well, you can say topics tapas if you want, or topic tapas.
Topic tapas.
You're a doctor, you're a physician, and the story was about doctors being patients themselves, right? So, what's your opinion on that? I mean, is it really true that they're the worst? They make the worst patients?
Well, I don't know if the article that you're referring to is about that specifically. I think the point of the article is that a doctor who has been a patient, him or herself, understands what a patient is going through more empathically than if they weren't. So, for example, if a doctor looks after somebody who has back pain, if that doctor has experienced back pain, him or herself,
Right.
then they are more empathetic and more understanding of a patient who comes in and says, I have back pain, than one who has not.
Interesting.
So, the title of the article I think you were referring to is When the Doctor is a Patient. And it's about this issue.
Right.
It's not saying that doctors are bad or good patients.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
so if they've had the ailment or illness or
Yeah, of course. I mean,
themselves.
it's just like in life. I mean, anybody who's experienced anything, whether it's an illness, a death, whatever it is, they then understand what it is to go through that. And when they encounter somebody else who's going through that, they are, of course, more empathetic.
So having that empathy now, how does that change the care or?
Well, it's the difference between, being told by a doctor, you're imagining it, it's in your head, go home, don't bother me anymore, or let's look into this and let's see what really is causing the pain. Because it's the difference between the doctor believing that the patient has pain and the doctor, coming to his own conclusion that the patient is just using it for some kind of secondary gain.
Oh, gotcha. All right, Davey Davies back in again.
Doc, this question's for you. It's from Jennifer, also from Ramsey.
Yeah.
Wants to know what you think about Richard III finally getting his ceremony and his honors as a king. Hopefully you'll know about this. After 530 years, people are just calling in with all kinds of
this is an article. Richard III finally got the ceremony and honor a king deserves
There you go.
after his ignominious death in battle. Well, that's not an unusual thing, actually, to happen in British history. Many years after the events or the deaths of people who were hung or had their heads chopped off because they crossed the crown, many years later, the government decides that they're going to, posthumously honor them. And I don't know how genuine it is. Maybe it's just an excuse for another one of those pompous British ceremonies. That's what I have to say about that.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you're have a little experience challenging the
The authorities.
establishment. Yeah, establishment, right?
I do.
We
Yes.
talked about that.
Standing up for one's rights.
So, Dave, what do we got? What do we got now, Dave? All right. Topic tappers, folks. Call in 800-962-1160.
Forget it. Don't even tell them to call in because the phones are blowing up.
The phones are blowing up.
Can't keep up with it. We're having a little problem getting the callers on, so I'm taking their questions
And reading them to us.
and I'm reading them to you. But I was just informed that we need to go to break.
All right, we're going to break. My favorite show. 800-962-1160. Don't call because we can't take your call because the phone lines are blowing up. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
You're listening to My Favorite Show. Join the conversation by calling 800-962-1160. Stay tuned for more of Dr. Call and Greg Riccardi. We'll be right back after these messages.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't seen your lap in months. And even more stuff. But still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
All right, we're back with My Favorite Show. I'm Greg Riccardi, your host, along with Dr. Richard Call. Say something, Doctor.
Cheerio.
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 So the phones are blowing up. Davey Dave is back in here.
Guys, our next question is from Jennifer. She's from Elmwood Park, I believe
Elmwood
it
Park.
says.
Okay, Jennifer.
And Doc, she'd like to know what you think about Christie fading in Iowa. as far as polls?
In the electoral system, right? He's not
Yeah.
physically fading. It's not like he's on, life support machine in Iowa.
Right.
But his ratings in Iowa are dipping.
Right.
Well, I think American politics is interesting, and there's 51 or 52 states, which is 50.
50.
There's 50 states, and they've each got their own particular flavor in terms of the politicians that they like and don't like. And what's popular in one state is not necessarily the case in another state. And I think that's what we're seeing here with a dip in his ratings in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that his particular approach to politics, seemed to have worked well for him in his career in New Jersey. But I don't think the more mild-mannered Iowans, what do we call them? Iowans? The people of the Corn Belt.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't think that they necessarily,
get his style,
quite
or
tuned into the,
what he's really about.
well, not necessarily that, but the style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they, quite.
Brash.
Yeah. I think that they've got a softer, slightly more sort of diplomatic understanding of how politicians, particularly ones that want to operate on the global stage, need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that international politics and how the leaders, or American leaders, deal with all these terrorist groups around the world, I think is key. I think you've got to have someone who understands the nuances and the niceties and the tactics of gentle negotiation.
Speaking of this whole what is ISIS and all this stuff? I mean, what's your take on that? I mean, what do you think from a?
Well, I think what this particular Islamic fundamentalist group, ISIS, I think what they've done is horrific, but they have instilled fear. Okay, into the minds of anybody who would think about going against them, and they've done it in the most horrific and barbaric way by beheading, Americans and Europeans and Japanese, and making videos and posting those videos on the internet.
Right.
So, to me, actually, it was an entirely predictable thing when the Middle East was destabilized back in 2003 by the first war in Iraq. I mean,
right.
the Middle East is an incredibly complex part of the world. I mean, there's, you see today we see borders of countries, but they're all artificial borders that were created by the British and the French when they left their empires there. And the divisions are much deeper, and they go back along tribal lines, and that's a hard thing for an outsider coming
to disrupt
in.
or
to understand,
manage and to understand, right?
Yeah. So I think that what that does is it creates a vacuum for
Right.
these nutcases and these fundamentalists to come in, and then they recruit the most disenfranchised of their populations. They fill their head with distortions of Islam, because Islam's a peaceful religion. It's about peace.
Right.
It's not about violence.
Right.
And it's very pro-women. It's not anti-women. And, they indoctrinate these young guys.
Sorry, Doc. Sorry to interrupt. There's so many calls. We're trying to. You only got a few minutes left, and we want to get to this. Larry from Jersey City wants to know your thoughts on Bruce Jenner and his transgender.
All right, finish the ISIS comment first, then we'll go to Bruce Jenner.
So anyway, I think that it's terrible, and I think that the answer to the ISIS
Right.
Solution is you have to education, but you have to get to the people where they're drawing their resources from. You can't when you disenfranchise a whole people or a religion.
But you're talking about disenfranchising. You've got people, young people from all over, from all different walks of life and all different economic backgrounds, that are flocking or seem to be flocking to them. I mean, is it just a disenfranchised, or is there something, bigger that is?
Well, no. I mean, I disagree with you on the economic issue. It's usually young men from difficult economic circumstances. You don't tend to, generally don't have wealthy young white English guys going out to Syria, putting on a tea cloth and taking up the banner of ISIS. That doesn't happen. It's men who have nothing else to lose, and they follow this call. And so you have to address those problems. But the wider problem is the issue of education. If you've got media stations pumping out anti-Islamic rhetoric, left and right, and you've got this indoctrination going on in the other direction, and they're turning people who really are faithful followers of Islam in its purest form into these hateful people that just want to kill you, and that's not correct. That's not going to bring about peace.
Right.
So ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? I mean, I'm not particularly religious guy. So we're all the same.
Yeah.
So these divisions that have occurred are serving someone. And again, I go back to this thing is more, in my opinion, related to differences in economic understanding and control and power.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Next
Davey
question
Dave.
here is for Greg.
Uh-oh.
Greg, people want to know your favorite spring break destination. Spring break destination, please.
My favorite spring break. I would have to say it would be Cancunita. Why do I say Cancunita?
Because all the Canadians go down there?
No, because when we did go on spring break in senior year in college, we went to Cancun, and like 4 out of the 6 days were like cold, and it was just like a complete aberration of weather, and it was cold and not sunny.
That's your favorite destination?
We were calling it Cancunita. Well, I actually have been back since then, and it's great. So that's the only place I can. Next question.
Guys, next one's for the doc. This is about steroid use in Major League Baseball. Steroid use in Major League Baseball.
Oh, boy.
Well, taking anabolic steroids, as they say in America, period, is not good for your body. I mean, it causes all kinds of negative changes to the way your kidneys function, your liver functions, even your neurological system functions. But I think the issue that they have with anabolic steroids is, they feel it gives an added advantage to those that take it, so they feel it's unfair. So, they made a rule to say nobody can take it. That would, level the playing field. And, I think for that reason, alone, men who are involved in professional sports shouldn't take it. But from a physician standpoint, I think there are a multitude of reasons as to why anabolic steroids should not be taken by anyone.
Really? Is there any like medical use or any positive use besides
I mean,
being able to?
Well, no, in the treatment of diseases where people lack the ability to produce their own hormones, you use those types of substances where they've got a deficiency or they've had a tumor resected and they can't make it themselves. So you administer it in those instances, and but to give it to people that can make their own stuff is, I think, bad for your health.
Right. Davey Dave.
Guys, Dara Rose from Suffern, New York would like to know what type of music you prefer. Type of music you guys prefer.
Type
Greg,
of music.
Why don't we start with you?
That's it's Topic Tapas here, folks, tonight, and we're getting questions all over the board. My favorite type of music. Oh, that's a good one. I would say, it's absolutely. I got a funny story for you. It was not too long ago. I'm going to say it was about 3 weeks ago, and I was driving down the road in somebody else's car, and they had this radio station on, and it was playing, great music. I'm like, is this a pod? Like, your iPod or something? And he's like, no, it's this radio station.
Pandora.
So, no, it wasn't Pandora, but it was. It turns out to be, you're not going to believe it, an oldies station.
Right.
And it was playing, 80s music and 70s music, which is, probably what I grew up on, and I now like an oldie station. Can you believe it? It's crazy. How about you?
Music. I like all kinds of music. I mean, it goes across the spectrum. It's just how it makes me feel. I mean, I like classical, I like rock, I like rap, dance. I mean, it's the sound. So whatever sound, makes me feel good in that, whenever I'm in a particular mood. I mean, there's different music.
So it's like context driven. So if you're
I'm not married to any one particular genre.
Gotcha. Davey Dave.
Guys, nothing like the internet. We have from Edmond, Oklahoma, a question for the doc.
Edmond, Oklahoma. Listening probably on MyFavoriteShow.com, where you can click to listen live no matter where you are in the world. Go ahead.
Doc, I know we don't have much time for this, but people want to know how you got started in the medical field.
Well, I was 16 at the time, actually, and I was at a grammar school in a place called Sidcup in Kent, in England. And I actually initially wanted to study economics and philosophy. I wasn't particularly too keen on medicine, but the priests that ran the school decided I would go into medical school. So I underwent a 5-year degree, or actually 6 years, of medical school at the University of London. And then after that, I underwent approximately 8 years of postgraduate training between the States and the US in the fields of general surgery, anesthesiology, and interventional pain.
Doc, I am so sorry. With only 2 minutes left in the show, we want to try and get in as many questions as we can. We will get back to that.
Irrespective of whether we get the answer out, I guess.
I am so sorry.
Go.
We have a Larry from Manalapan. Is that
Manalapan.
correct?
Yep.
Wants to know, I hate to ask you this one, your favorite WWE wrestler.
Okay. I'm out on that one. Are you? Do you have one?
Yeah, who was that guy that everyone loves? John. What's his name? I forget his name. I saw him on TV the other night. John Seren or John? I forget his surname.
Not sure.
Yeah, but anyway, he seems to be the coolest one of them all.
All right, there you
go.
But
that whole thing is a big fix.
You know something?
It's fixed.
We're out of time, guys.
We're out of time.
We're out of time. Please
Unbelievable.
tell people on hold, thank you.
Yes.
Try again next week.
All those people on hold, thanks for calling in. You've been listening to My Favorite Show. I'm Greg Riccardi with Dr. Richard Call. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
And on the steroid version of My Favorite Show.
The what?
The steroid version of My Favorite Show.
Yes, this was the steroid version of My Favorite Show. Thanks for all your questions. And we remind you to go to our website, which is MyFavoriteShow.com. Watch previous broadcasts. Sign up for our email list, as well as text MFS to short code 3131. Actually, that's 313131. And you'll be notified of the next broadcast. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to My Favorite Show, where Dr. Richard Call and Greg Riccardi discuss the matters that matter most. My Favorite Show is taped live Monday nights at 7 p.m. To watch the video of this broadcast in the WVNJ studio, visit MyFavoriteShow.com.